Welcome home. We are WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. Nothing more positive than being here in the epicenter of crab cake landia. I got Nancy Devine staring at me here on the wall. We're at Fadley's at the new Lexington Market. I don't know how I'm going to have to call it the new Lexington Market. It is Lexington Market at this point, but it's a beautiful new space here. We have a defending champion of elections and money here in Baltimore. Bill Henry's going to join us in a moment. It's all brought to you by the Maryland Lottery. I've got Pac-Man scratch-offs I'm going to be giving away to folks here momentarily. I have a whole stack of them. This is my last batch of Pac-Mans. We're getting the lucky sevens coming in. Next week, we're going to be at Cooper's North and Timonium on Tuesday. We're going to be at State Fair on Thursday before the Orioles game. We're going to be at Coco's the following week, then Costas, then Pappas. We're also going to be doing Fleet Week in this man's city on the 14th, 2 weeks from today. We are not going to be here at Fadley's before the Orioles-Phillies game. We're going to be at Cooper's in Fells Point celebrating Fleet Week. Bill Henry is former councilman and a man of the people in the city. Ran a very aggressive race a couple years ago to become the controller of the city. Has been at least appointed the Democratic candidate this time. He'll be our controller again, and we're here to talk some money. Man, I met you when you were trailing to do this and running against a longtime incumbent. That competency and old school and new school and where's the money, and I was a city resident at the time, and potholes. It's good to have you on. I try to get you on every year or two. I try to drag you here because it's walking distance, right? But you're a man on a schedule here this summer, right?
Sure, let's go with that. It's walking distance
from
City Hall.
Well, it is walking distance for those of us. It's biking distance for the very least.
It is definitely biking distance, and let me rephrase that. It should be walking distance more often.
All right. Well, you're looking good. You looking like you working the desserts off here. The city and how we're doing. Election year, if I had you here 6 weeks ago, which I had through here, I had Sheila here. I reached to Brandon's people yesterday because I did not have him on the trail. I didn't reach to you. I had Zach on the show, but I didn't have Eric on the show. But I saw. So, I mean, all of you who were running, I couldn't have everybody on. But the state of the city coming out of COVID to where we are right now, I'm here in the city. I come into the city 3, 4, sometimes 5 days a week. I'll be here again tomorrow. LLS fundraiser at the Renaissance. Ultra Nate's playing at the Harbor tomorrow. Yeah. The Orioles are home all week. I mean, I'm downtown all the time. I really, if I were voting or saying it out loud, I think things have improved in the city since I left the city 4 years ago. As I see it as a visitor here, I see signs of life when I come here that I can speak positively, not in the Fox 45 News or the Smith family newspaper, like whatever any of that is. I smell signs of life, and I smell it places I go here. How do you feel about that?
I'm always bullish on Baltimore. I always think that Baltimore has the expression I heard a little while ago was Baltimore has great bones.
Yes,
we are a great old house that used to be really amazing, has maybe seen some not so good days, but there is more than enough to build on to make Baltimore as wonderful and as fantastic as it ever was. It is something I believe that we should always be doing. We should always be trying to make Baltimore even better. We should never rest on our laurels. We should never settle for any of the accomplishments we have achieved. We should just keep going, making Baltimore better.
From a financial standpoint, and what happened with the Key Bridge and the port, what part of city revenues, the morning that happens, obviously loss of life, obviously transportation, like all of that, but from the bean counter perspective, which is where you sit, as the controller of the city, what did that mean financially, short-term, long-term? We got the port open now. At least we got boats going in and out. Feels like that happened pretty quickly.
So actually, ironically, one of the things that I've been talking about lately is I'm not actually the finance guy.
Okay, you're not the bean counter.
But I think that Baltimore was doing better when the comptroller was the finance guy, when we actually separately elected somebody to be our CFO, to be our finance guy rather than make finance just one more thing along with all the other services that the city does that report up to the mayor.
To the mayor, sure.
Yeah. But from
So
what
what is under your purview? I mean, literally educate the audience as well as myself as to what is the city controller at this point.
So the city comptroller oversees the Office of Real Estate, which is like the real estate agent for all the different other city agencies that control property. We oversee the Department of Telecommunications. We oversee the Municipal Post Office, both of which are internal services, mostly serving other city agencies. We got the Office of Accounts Payable in a charter amendment that was just done 2 years ago, where we are now the ones who print the checks and make the payments to vendors and other third-party stakeholders.
But when I pay my water bill, that goes to you, right?
But
no.
If you're collecting money, the collections is in the finance department. Collections is something that used to be under the comptroller. The budget bureau used to be under the
It always felt like when I had to write a check, I had to write it to the controller, right? Literally,
at the state level, that's still the
I
case.
had to learn how to M and a P in it. You know? I had to spell it.
Yes,
know?
When you pronounce it,
comptroller.
Comptroller.
I just think of Hyman Pressman.
At the state level, the comptroller is still the person who collects revenue for the entire state. But here in Baltimore City, they took payroll and accounts payable and collections.
When did that happen?
1964.
It's before Schaefer.
It was
D'Alessandro.
Schaefer was the first mayor who had more than a term to actually see what it was like to control not only the other city agencies, but also the back office in finance. And that was a big part of what made Schaefer is he
the city was slipping at that time, right? Like part of that was a measurement of like power for the mayor to say, I need the money in order to be able to do the job, right?
So that was the claim McKeldin made back
when
in
there was
64.
the original white flight, original people, when the population shrunk.
They said that they wanted to professionalize the city finances, and instead of electing someone to be in charge of them, they wanted to bring in a professional,
assign,
and then have that professional report to the mayor.
Okay. Had there been corruption, as you know it, to or was there something that led to that? Everybody getting on board for that.
Honest to God, I think what pushed the straw over the camel's back, I suppose, was the fact that they had just elected Hyman Pressman to be the new comptroller, and McKeldin and all the other sort of whatever passed for the people behind the scenes of those days, they did not think that Hyman would play ball with them, and they did not want to run the risk of the comptroller actually interfering with
stopping
the things that they were doing.
Things down.
So it was just easier to move everything under the mayor.
So what does that – so on a daily basis, decisions that are made by you that would have been different than your predecessors, or things that you could brag about from an elected standpoint to say, these are things we've changed around here since the day I met you in the old market 6-7 years ago, whenever it was, when you were throwing in for the campaign. And, I mean, I knew of you through the city, and I think I'd seen you out, and you're a sports guy and a music – I mean, we have things in common. But talking about lifting the city in your goal to say, I want this job, I'm going to run for this job, nobody else wanted this job, nobody still wants the job. But for you having the job the last 4 years, what are you proudest of?
So what I'm proudest of is two things. One, I think we have succeeded at modernizing how the office works. We took over an office in 2020 during I was going to say the height, but maybe the depth of the pandemic. We took over an office that ran entirely on paper and could not do any of the work that it needed to do in what at that point was a safe fashion, in the sense of people could not work remotely or separated from each other.
See, when I think safe, I think about running money and the internet, Chinese scams, and things that lock down governments, literally. The hostage stuff
or the ransomware.
Yeah, ransomware.
Yeah.
Sure. Use the wrong word. Ransom, not hostage.
So the things I'm proudest of are both the modernization that we've done in doing that, we've also made government more open, more transparent, and hopefully more accountable. But the other thing I'm proud of is bringing a different attitude towards how the office functions, where we don't just worry about putting together an agenda for a Board of Estimates meeting, which honestly, it kind of felt like that was the point under my predecessor.
Just win over that meeting. Win that meeting, and you're good the rest of the year.
Like they were just worried about making sure that everything was on the agenda and that the numbers matched. And we are looking at it more from a critical review perspective. Should this be on the agenda? Should we be doing this? Should the city be spending this much money to do this thing? And so
what does the city spend the most amount of money on?
Well, technically people.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we spend most of our money on the people who are providing the services that city residents need.
I was just so disheartened. I mean, I didn't leave the city because I always say this, because I always have to apologize to any of the city people. Like, my place sold. We were good to live in the city. We found a place in the county. We looked in 4 counties. I told Barry Glassman that. I told Calvin Ball that. I looked in our county down by Meriwether. We wound up settling in Baltimore County because it's where my business is, right? Like, so I'm closer to my work. Yeah. My wife could work anywhere. We found a good situation. But I'm not the guy that left the city because I'm mad at the mayor or mad at the government or mad at any of that. I love the city, but part of leaving it gives that question. And then I see the election. I had Sheila standing here. I had Theroux standing here. We talk about all these issues. I saw people factionalize, and I'm with Sheila. I'm with whoever. We had an election down in my district with Zach Blanchard and Eric Costello that went down to,
that was
paper
really
ballots.
Close.
How close? So, but all that being said, nobody voted. As I woke up the next day, and I'm thinking, for all the bluster I gave it, you give it, the importance that it has, that every citizen knows it has. Black, white, young, old, we know it's important. People didn't vote, and that's really the
one of the interesting observations I had was that I got roughly the same number of votes in 2024 that I got in 2020, but in 2020, somebody else running for my same office also got 60,000 on top of the 74,000 that I got. So it's like a whole other half of the electorate didn't show up. And here's what I will say is the biggest difference between last time and this time. Because I've heard a lot of people out there attributing it to, there was no real interesting primary for president, so that's why people didn't vote. What people have forgotten was that in 2020, because this was happening during the pandemic, we mailed everybody ballots. We actually sent them. We didn't say, send us something to let us know that you would like a ballot.
Right.
We actually just sent everybody a ballot. And surprise, surprise, more people voted.
I don't know what we could do as a society, right, in that
send everybody
way.
Ballots. Like at the end of the day, what is easier? Taking a piece of mail that already came to your home, filling it out, and putting it back in the box for the postman to collect and take back, or going out of your way during early voting or election day to go somewhere and stand in line and vote. I'm not saying you should do it.
By the way, I voted in person this year.
Yeah.
And I moved to the county. I just wanted to go do it in person, like to honor my parents in some way. Because the way I used to take my mother to vote. So on election day, I missed my mother.
Yeah.
I went to my parents' gravesite that day because I missed my parents. Right?
I'm not knocking. Yeah,
literally, instead of taking my mother, so I went to vote. And when I went there, Bill, it was like they hadn't seen anybody all day. They gave me applause when I showed up,
Well, that might just have been they were happy to see you.
Red carpet treatment from these people, and I'm thinking it was a weird experience because I walked in and out and didn't see another soul other than election. There was no one in the parking lot. There was no one handing me flyers. All of that pomp and circumstance. My dad and I used to tell Ted Venetoulis this. So it's not weird. People say, well, Nestor, you did sports all these years. Why do you have these politicians on? My father in 1976, I was out handing out leaflets for John Coulihan. Venetoulis would say, I beat his ass, didn't I? And he did. But I mean, I was politically active, Schoolhouse Rock as an 8-year-old. Yeah, my father believed in that in America.
But if you're out in the county, then the only things on the ballot for you were president, senator, Congress,
all important things,
and judges.
Well, if you're voting between Trone and Alsterbrooks, that's an important election.
Right. No, I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that that even in the city where you had all of those same races, and you also had the mayor, the council president, and in a lot of districts,
hyper-local.
Even then, it's hard to get people to go out of their way to do things. And honestly, I'm not going to knock the internet, but I'm going to say that the internet has done a lot to make people comfortable with trying to do stuff from home.
Sure.
And if we could vote safely and securely over the internet,
and we can,
that's a hard sell to the legislature.
Well, look, dude. I mean, I'll say this.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying it's a hard sell.
I'm not playing the D card or the R card because I know which way you vote on this. But the guy who was a former president was convicted last night on 34 counts of fraud about hush money to a porn star. He's on tape shaking down an election official in Georgia. So to me, of all of the egregious starting an insurrection, walking away from it, allowing his vice president to maybe be hung, and all the things that happened, death on the steps of the Capitol, all of that, he was trying to shake down an election official.
Yeah.
To me, that's much more important than whatever he was doing with Stormy Daniels.
You do not want to get me started.
Well, I'll give you 2 minutes on that if you want that. And then I want to talk baseball with you.
Well, first of all, I think I, like many Americans, was relieved by the verdict.
Because you can't get away with it?
It was good to see that we actually went through the whole legal process, and a jury of, I'll use peers,
citizens.
Jury of citizens agreed that it doesn't matter if you used to be president of the United States. You cannot break the law without consequences.
That's America. That's what it should be. That's the way it should
exactly.
be. Gives me more confidence in our country, to your point, right?
That's why I'm trying to be bullish.
Well, I'm trying to get confidence here in Baltimore. We're at Lexington Market. We're at Fadley's. I would break out a crab cake. I got my Pac-Man scratch-offs. Bill Henry's here. He's the comptroller of Baltimore. I want to say it the way Hyman comptroller, as we would say. Baltimore and the rebound to Baltimore for me, and Fox News aside, and carjackings, and wherever you want to go with murder rate being down but still too many, where you want to go with shootings, too many. I'll give you all of that. And I've walked the streets of L.A. I've been in Inglewood this week walking. I've been in New York City. I did more steps in New York City and New Jersey last weekend. So I traveled the country. I've seen cities get better, get worse. New York was messy a couple years ago. Coming back a little bit, a lot of empty storefronts, less trash, less homeless. I'm seeing signs because I do a lot of walking. This city here, CFG Bank Arena, bringing people down. I'm not coming to the city anymore unless Garth Brooks plays. I don't go to the city. I'll never go to the city again. Gunnar Henderson going to hit a grand slam. I'll come to the city. To me, the Orioles and I'm going to stay on this with Mr. Rubenstein. I'm still banned. As a media member. Yeah, I know it's incredible, but I'm still banned as a media member. But the questions for him and his intent at $1.7 billion, and we see 40,000 people down here for ketchup, mustard, and relish races here the other day, right? there's
Go
traffic
relish.
out here as we're here. It's always relish. I'm glad you appreciate that.
Got to be relish.
Got to be always relish. There's something happening here for the city and people coming back to the city. And I think baseball's really – you can't go use the harbor in the same way that you maybe used to or want to, and there's going to be construction there at some point, hopefully soon. But the Orioles are a magnet to bringing people back downtown, and this winning thing is something that I know it's in your heart. Yeah. We're of a similar age and a similar era. I just want to give you some oxygen because on a daily basis it's 4 hours out of your day and mine that we weren't giving it for a little while, right?
Well, now it's more like 3 hours.
Okay, yeah, it is still shorter.
But, hey, that's not a complaint. That's not a complaint. I actually am loving the fact that the games move along even more.
I love
now.
that they win every other night.
That's also more fun.
2 out of 3
That's
nights.
true.
That's
If it wouldn't help that they're faster as much if we weren't winning as many of them. But I say this completely seriously, and like you say, worrying about things like the Baltimore economy, I see a faster ball game as the people who leave the ballpark more likely to stick around downtown and do something else.
We got to give them that something else to do, too.
Rather than just immediately hopping in their cars and heading back out of town. And, yeah, the CF Arena has been just, I hesitate to call it a godsend, but I have seen and heard more people talk about seeing shows at the arena
I'm down here once
a
month
than I probably in 10 years.
I've seen a dozen shows in the first year. Once a month something grabs me.
Yeah.
And then the baseball team being compelling.
How many shows had you seen at the arena in the previous 10 years?
Well, I lived downtown for 20 years, but it was twice a year.
Yeah, right?
At best. And I loved when the shows – I can tell you, Skinner played down here, Van Halen played down here, Springsteen but I could walk. Yeah. I loved living downtown. Yeah. The Benny for me, anytime a show played Pier 6, that was a night I wasn't coming.
You can come back anytime. One of the reasons, I know you said that the elected
officials
build it,
and I will come back.
Give you crap for moving out to the county. I'm not going to give you crap for moving out to the county. I'm going to keep talking to you about the fact that more fun things are happening, and you keep telling us what you want to see downtown. We build it, you come back. That's what I want to see.
What am I allowed to complain to you about that you wouldn't say, take that to Brandon? Trash pickup. Seriously, what do people complain to the controller about that would be different than the mayor? What could you be helpful with? If I call you and say potholes, you're like, that's not me, right? Right? I mean, but what is you?
People complain to me about individual items on the Board of Estimates agenda that either shouldn't be there or we should be doing something differently. Big ticket items, like the conduit deal that we made with BG&E last year.
Okay.
People came to me and had concerns about that. My job was to share those concerns with the rest of the city. I did. Journalists covered that. I talked to people out at community meetings. I knew that the story was getting out. But at the end of the day, because of the system we had, the mayor could just make it happen regardless of the complaints, the concerns, and the questions. What people now bring me is, well, should the mayor be that all-powerful?
Well, I've been talking about that since before Mayor Scott was Mayor Scott, right?
It's not about Brandon. It's about
the job, right? Yeah, it's about the job and things that were changed 2 generations ago. Which is where we began the conversation, right?
Which is why the thing I'm pushing right now is let's look at the fact that it's not like we've made things better in some way by taking an elected official's direct awareness and attention off of the finance stuff. If we talk about the things I'm proud of for what I've done in the Comptroller's office, one of the big things that I'm proud of is bringing an attitude of thinking of the residents of Baltimore first over what's easy for us to do as a bureaucracy.
You saw that as a councilman, right?
I saw that as a councilman. Right,
that's why you ran.
And
I remember you talking to me about that when you were hopeful to be.
One of the things that I have seen over the years is a lot of well-meaning, good-intentioned people running city agencies, it's easy for them to get captured by the bureaucracy to the point where they start to think of their department and what makes things work well for their department as being more important than what makes things good for the people of Baltimore. And you have to, as a manager, be on that and pushing that message of thinking of the people of Baltimore first. You've got to be pushing that message down the chain every day, all day. And if you have 20-some agencies to be responsible for,
with thousands of employees.
With thousands of employees, it's entirely likely you're not pushing that message down to each one of them with the same vigor and the same focus and passion that you can when you only have 4 or 5 agencies.
Sure.
Yeah.
Bill Henry's here. He's the comptroller of the city of Baltimore. They just opened the door. The crab cake's blowing through here. I mean, we're at Fadley's. People come in here and they just take pictures of the place. And Damie tells the great. She's going to come on in a little bit because we're going to talk about this. But she tells a story. People come here now, and they look. And she made me laugh. She said they come in and they're like, it looks just like it did on TV. And, of course, it was shot at the other location.
But actually, Jeff and I were talking about that. They've done a great
it feels
job
like it's been here a
of
million years.
repackaging all of the elements
and
the
memorabilia
from the other location to this new location. But they get the benefit of all the extra natural light and
fresh air
and a better flow, better pedestrian flow.
There's an outdoor deck here. We did the crab races out there 2 weeks ago. And you know what? I didn't think much of it because I hadn't thought about how nice the weather could be. Because I've been coming here January, February, March, April. Today, Oriole game here. We're down here. If you're not here getting a crab cake and a beer, my wife took my beer. It's her birthday. She had a beer. She left it for me, but it's gone somehow, some way. But Bill Henry's here. I think for the accountability and for your transparency with me and our relationship of coming and doing this is all I ask of anybody who's elected. Come, tell me what you do. Educate people. We need more of that, right? The ignorance is the enemy, right? I mean, the light is educating people and saying that we need more people to vote. We need more people to care to lift the city.
If you don't like explaining what you do and what government should be doing, government may not be for you.
Yeah, government wasn't for me, but there was an opportunity. Bill Henry's here. We're at Fadley's. We're brought to you by the Maryland Lottery. I have Pac-Man scratch-offs to give away. You got Oriole fever?
Oh, yeah. I'm looking forward to this season.
You got a favorite player yet? No?
I try not to.
I'm digging Ryan O'Hearn lately.
Okay, so
it's easy to like Rutschman or Hendry. It's easy to like the ace. Okay.
So,
I'm a Westberg guy too.
Okay, so just between you, me, and everybody who's watching and listening.
Go ahead. Oh, it's a Colton Cowser guy. It's the beard. I think it's a beard. See you in a cow. When are we going to have you out there splashing people? Controller Bill Henry's here.
I would love to be Mr. Splash.
You would love,
that would be so much fun.
And you'd be really good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, I mean, hopefully they hit a lot of home runs, driving some runs this weekend. A lot of American League East activity. Luke was here talking the nerdity of walks and on-base percentage. We had a good time with that. And Damie and Alicia are going to come here. We're going to talk about seafood. They offered me snake head 2 weeks ago, and I didn't put 2 and 2 together because I was eating a crab cake, and sometimes I'm in the mood for – they do fried oysters really well here. But so today they don't have any snake head, but I want to – have you had snake head yet? I like fish. I like blue catfish. So the invasive catfish, I mean, I'll put lemon pepper on that and eat that all. You're not a fishy guy? No.
I'm not a fish guy.
At all?
I'm crab, shrimp, lobster, that's pretty much it.
But not fish?
Yeah.
Scallops?
Crab, shrimp, lobster.
Hold on. If you like shrimp, you'd eat scallops. You don't like them? You just won't eat clams, oysters? No.
Yeah.
Anything slimy. You're anti-slimy.
I've had fried clams, and that's kind of okay. I don't like the oysters. No.
Are you a crab cake guy, or will you sit and crack crabs? You're a real Baltimore guy.
I would prefer the crab cake, but I can sit and pick crabs.
Electeds don't get their hands dirty.
It's just more efficient.
Don't be like that. I hear people say that all the time. They don't eat crabs, and I'm like,
When I have the urge to do the actual sitting and picking crabs, what I use that for is steamed shrimp.
I use that for socializing
with Old Bay
and beer drinking.
Yeah.
That's the thing about.
Well, the beer drinking's forgiven.
Yeah, I eat a lot. I mean, for being a skinny guy, but there's something about I don't eat socially. Korean barbecue maybe because you kind of take your time with it a little bit. But other than that, crabs is the ultimate
It is.
breaking bread. It's the Baltimore's way of breaking bread. It's the way we sit down and we spend time together. You can't be in a hurry when you're eating crabs. You can talk when you're eating crabs because your mouth's never full. You know what I mean? It's like I don't like golf. I would rather eat crabs for a couple of hours to hang out and be a guy with you.
I'm thinking about the breaking bread feel, like when you want that meal of togetherness.
Right. That Sunday brunch or whatever. Right.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. That for me, that's a lasagna meal.
All right, I'm from an Italian family. I can live with that. That's good.
That's like a big tray of lasagna in the middle of the table.
You know, every Italian I know used to do this the Feast of the Fishes for Christmas. I don't like it that much. Too much fish.
Yeah.
I mean, I no offense to our friends at Faithley's. I mean, I don't need to have 7 different fishes.
Lasagna is already the perfect food.
All right, well, that's fine. I'll take you to Michi's next week. We'll do that. Bill Henry's here. That's also in Baltimore City. So I am actually having dinner at Michi's tomorrow because my wife is a leukemia survivor, 2-time leukemia survivor, and the folks from Leukemia Lymphoma Society are having their Visionary of the Year. It used to be called Man of the Year, Woman of the Year. They call it Visionary of the Year. They're doing that at the Renaissance on Saturday night. Ultra Nate, my girl, is performing over at the Harbor, so I'm skipping out of the leukemia event to go get free with Ultra and do my thing. So Baltimore girl, Dunbar girl, come on now.
That sounds outstanding.
Well, that's Baltimore on a weekend. And I didn't even mention that the Orioles are home all weekend. So
yeah,
he's got the city locked down. Come bring him your money. He's the controller of Baltimore. Leave something behind for Mayor Scott as well. We're down here at Lexington. Do you have to stop calling it the new Lexington Market? There's only one Lexington Market. This is it.
This is Lexington Market.
This is such a beautiful – they've done a great job with this. When I say
I
the
love
city's
it.
getting better, that's what I'm talking about. Get down here to Lexington Market. Bill Henry's out of here. He's got business to run here on a Friday afternoon. Luke's at the ballpark. We're back for more from Faithley's. We're Baltimore Positive. Stay with us.